You think consistency builds trust. Predators know predictability builds traps. The moment your reactions can be anticipated, stronger men script your losses before you even notice. Predictability is exposure over time. You do not become vulnerable the moment you act. You become vulnerable the moment your actions form a pattern. Predictability is not a single mistake. It is the accumulation of visible behavior that allows others to calculate you. Most men think danger comes from being weak. In reality, it comes from being readable. When your responses follow the same emotional rhythm, the environment begins to anticipate you. Anticipation removes risk, and once risk disappears, exploitation begins. Power does not require malice to dominate you. It only requires familiarity. Familiarity allows others to move ahead of you psychologically. They know when you will speak, when you will retreat, when you will become emotional. This is how control forms quietly. Predictability is exposure stretched over time. You may stay silent today, calm tomorrow, aggressive the next. But if the sequence repeats, observers map it. Once mapped, your silence no longer confuses, it confirms. Your calm no longer intimidates, it reassures. Your aggression no longer surprises, it justifies preemptive action. This is why discipline without variation fails. Men who pride themselves on being consistent mistake stability for strength. Consistency comforts the system. Comfort invites optimization. Optimization is the process by which you are contained. Think of how institutions operate. They do not attack unpredictable threats directly. They wait, they study, they log behavior. Once patterns emerge, they introduce policies, incentives, and constraints designed specifically for those patterns. The same happens socially, professionally, hierarchically. The predictable man becomes a solved problem. There is also an emotional component most men underestimate. When people know how you will react, they lose respect for your internal state. Your anger becomes noise. Your boundaries become negotiable. Your presence becomes manageable. This is why predators rarely show the same face twice. Not because they are chaotic, but because they understand repetition invites preparation. Preparation is the enemy of dominance. Predictability also destroys leverage in negotiation. If others know you always need resolution, they delay. If they know you avoid conflict, they press. If they know you value harmony, they introduce tension. Every known preference becomes a handle. Machiavelli understood this intuitively. Stability is for those already in control. Those still climbing must remain unreadable. Order is useful only after dominance is secured. The discipline required here is uncomfortable. It demands resisting your own habits, your own emotional cycles, your own timing. You must see yourself as the environment sees you, not as you intend to be, but as you repeat yourself. This chapter is not meant to inspire paranoia. It is meant to awaken vigilance. You are not watched constantly, but you are watched long enough to be understood if you do not disrupt the pattern. From this point on, the question is no longer, am I strong? It is, am I legible? Because legibility, not weakness, is what ends men quietly. How humans exploit patterns instinctively. Humans do not need to be taught how to exploit patterns. They are born doing it. From childhood, survival depends on recognizing repetition. Who reacts, who yields, who escalates. This instinct never disappears, it matures. The moment your behavior becomes consistent, the nervous systems around you start testing it. Not consciously, automatically. Small probes, minor boundary pushes, delayed responses, disrespect wrapped in humor. These are not accidents, they are data collection. If your reaction is predictable, the test escalates. If it is inconsistent, the testing pauses. This is the mechanism predators rely on. They are not aggressive first, they are curious. Predictable men confuse reliability with safety. They believe being known builds trust. In reality, it builds a model. Once others have a working model of you, they can simulate outcomes without involving you at all. This is the beginning of being managed. Pattern exploitation operates on timing more than force. If you always reply quickly, speed is used against you. If you always cool off, provocation is delayed until you cannot disengage. If you always forgive, transgression becomes cheaper. Notice how little effort this requires. No confrontation, no cruelty, just rhythm. This is why emotional consistency is dangerous before authority is secured. Your emotional range becomes a map. Your map becomes a playbook, and playbooks are meant to be beaten. The darker truth is this: even allies exploit patterns, not to destroy you, but to extract value. They learn how much they can ask, how late they can be, how often they can lean. This erosion feels minor until it isn't. Unpredictability disrupts this process, not chaos, uncertainty. When reactions vary, testing becomes risky. Risk reduces frequency. Reduced testing preserves position. This is why predators cultivate controlled variability. They do not lash out randomly. They adjust responses just enough to prevent modeling. Calm today, delayed tomorrow, silent the next. The observer never stabilizes a prediction. Machiavellian power relies on this instability. It keeps others slightly off balance. Off-balance people hesitate. Hesitation prevents coordination. Coordination is how resistance forms. This chapter should make one thing clear. Exploitation is not personal. It is procedural. Once you understand that, you stop taking boundary violations emotionally and start responding strategically. From here, the focus sharpens on the men who become readable without realizing it. The readable man versus the unstable operator. Every hierarchy separates men into two categories long before titles are assigned: those who can be read and those who cannot. This distinction determines who is pressured and who is deferred to. The readable man prides himself on coherence. His values are visible. His reactions are consistent. His boundaries are explained. He believes this makes him trustworthy. What it actually makes him is predictable. Predictability invites rehearsal. Others practice how to deal with him before interacting. They know what will offend him, what will calm him, what will make him concede. This is not disrespect, it is optimization. The unstable operator is misnamed. He is not erratic. He is selectively inconsistent. His reactions do not follow a public rhythm. Sometimes he ignores. Sometimes he escalates. Sometimes he delays. The lack of pattern forces caution. People speak differently around him. They choose words more carefully. They hesitate before testing. This hesitation is often misinterpreted as fear, but it is closer to calculation. Calculation buys him space. Readable men create expectations. Unstable operators destroy them. And in power dynamics, expectation is vulnerability. Once others know what you should do, deviation feels disruptive. That disruption shifts the balance. There is also a moral illusion at play. Readable men are praised as mature, grounded, emotionally intelligent. Unstable operators are labeled difficult, cold, or unpredictable. These labels do not reduce power. They camouflage it. Hierarchy does not reward virtue. It rewards manageability or threat. The readable man is manageable. The unstable operator is not. This difference is why some men are constantly corrected while others are left alone. Correction targets those who respond consistently. Silence surrounds those whose reactions carry uncertainty. Machiavellian dynamics punish reliability without authority. Until you are untouchable, being dependable simply means being exploitable. Once authority is secured, consistency becomes a luxury. Before that, it is exposure. This chapter should force a re-evaluation of traits you were taught to admire in yourself. Ask not whether you are good, but whether you are easy to simulate. If others can simulate you, they can outmaneuver you. The next chapter strips away any remaining comfort by showing how this pattern has repeated relentlessly across history. History punishes those who repeated themselves. History does not remember men who adapted too slowly. It remembers those who became patterns and were removed once understood. Repetition, not weakness, is what made them conquerable. Empires did not fall because they lacked strength. They fell because their strategies stabilized. Enemies studied them, copied them, then countered them. Once behavior became predictable, decline was only a matter of time. The same pattern repeats at every scale. Generals who won one war using the same formations lost the next. Rulers who governed successfully in one era were overthrown in another because they failed to shift posture. Their past victories became their trap. Machiavelli warned that fortune favors the adaptable, not the righteous. Men who refuse to change behavior because it once worked confuse history with permanence. Power has no memory. It only responds to present conditions. Even revolutions follow this law. The first phase succeeds through unpredictability. The second fails through repetition. Once the playbook is visible, countermeasures appear. What was once bold becomes routine. What was once feared becomes expected. This is why institutions grow conservative with age. They repeat what once protected them. That repetition invites disruption from smaller, faster, less predictable forces. History does not reward size, it rewards movement. The lesson is merciless. Success accelerates your exposure. Every win teaches the environment how you win. Without deliberate variation, victory sharpens the blade that will eventually be used against you. Men who cling to identity suffer the same fate. This is how I am becomes, this is how I will be beaten. Identity freezes behavior. Frozen behavior becomes a target. History offers no sympathy here. Those who failed to evolve were not unlucky. They were legible. And legibility is fatal in competitive systems. By now, the threat should feel unavoidable. Predictability is not a minor flaw. It is an expiration date. The only response is strategic variability, controlled, disciplined, deliberate. Strategic variability as defense. Unpredictability is not chaos. Chaos exposes. Strategic variability conceals. The difference is intention. Most men either repeat themselves or break pattern emotionally. Both are liabilities. Repetition invites exploitation. Emotional deviation signals loss of control. Predators do neither. They vary deliberately. Strategic variability means altering timing, tone, and response without explanation. It means sometimes acting immediately, sometimes delaying, sometimes engaging, sometimes withdrawing. Not to confuse, but to prevent modeling. This behavior denies others a stable reference point. Without reference, they hesitate. Hesitation reduces pressure. Reduced pressure preserves maneuverability. The key is discipline. Variability without discipline looks unstable. Discipline without variability looks predictable. Power sits in the balance between the two. This is why elite operators do not form habits publicly. They avoid routines others can depend on. They change schedules. They shift engagement styles. They disrupt expectations quietly. Machiavellian strategy values this because it inverts initiative. Instead of reacting to the environment reacts to uncertainty around you. Strategic variability also protects emotional leverage. When others cannot predict what affects you, they cannot provoke effectively. Their attempts become expensive. Expense reduces frequency. This chapter recalibrates discipline from rigidity to control. Control is not sameness. Control is choice. The ability to act differently without emotional justification. Once you internalize this, routine becomes optional. Predictability becomes a choice, not a default. And choice is power. Only one step remains. Destroying the identity that craves stability. Destroying the comfort of routine. Identity routine feels safe because it removes decision-making. Identity feels stable because it removes uncertainty. Both are traps. The moment you define yourself too clearly, calm, aggressive, forgiving, disciplined, you lock behavior into expectation. Others adapt. You stagnate. What once felt like self-mastery becomes predictability wearing a moral mask. Men cling to routine because it soothes anxiety. Knowing how you will respond tomorrow makes today feel manageable. But power does not care about comfort. It exploits it. To remain unreadable, the routine-based identity must be dismantled. Not publicly, internally. You must stop asking, "What would someone like me do?" and start asking, "What advances position now?" This shift is uncomfortable because it removes emotional consistency. You will feel less certain of yourself. That uncertainty is not weakness, it is flexibility. Predators do not anchor identity to behavior. They anchor it to outcomes. Their sense of self is not threatened by deviation. Yours will be, at first. That is the cost of transition. Destroying routine identity also eliminates predictable emotions. If anger always produces confrontation, others will provoke. If calm always produces disengagement, others will wait. Variability breaks this leverage. This is not about acting fake. It is about refusing to be simplified. Once this identity dissolves, stability becomes situational rather than personal. You are stable when it serves you, unstable when it protects you. Only one chapter remains, the final warning. Final warning. Once read, you are replaceable. The moment you are fully understood, you become interchangeable. Once others can predict your reactions, they no longer need you, only a version of you. That is the beginning of replacement. Organizations replace predictable men with systems. Groups replace them with cheaper copies. Individuals replace them with someone more compliant. This happens quietly, without hostility, because predictability removes risk. Men think loyalty protects them here. It does not. Loyalty is valued only when it is scarce or unpredictable. When it becomes guaranteed, it loses leverage. Guaranteed behavior is assumed behavior. Assumed behavior is exploitable. This is the final consequence of predictability. You are no longer negotiated with. You are scheduled around. Machiavelli understood that power survives through uncertainty. Not fear, uncertainty. Fear provokes rebellion. Uncertainty paralyzes it. When others cannot anticipate you, they delay decisions that affect you. Delay keeps you in the game. Once your pattern is clear, delay disappears. Actions against you become precise, justified, and socially acceptable. You will not be attacked. You will be optimized out. This is why calm, consistent, good men are often shocked when they are sidelined. They believed stability was protection. It was exposure. The warning is final because correction comes too late once legibility is complete. By the time you realize you are predictable, the environment has already adjusted. From this point forward, treat being understood as a cost. Treat routine as a vulnerability. Treat comfort as the enemy of position. You do not need to be erratic. You need to be unreadable long enough to secure authority. After that, rules change. Until then, remember this. Power does not eliminate predictable men. It replaces them.